One fan base, one city, one team brings us all together. The Cleveland Browns. If you're a Browns fan, this podcast is for you. Welcome to Down with the Browns.
Let's go, baby!
What's up? What's up?
Woo! Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, everybody around the world, Browns fans everywhere. If you're not a Browns fan, that's all right. This show is still for you. I am joined with the very famous Kentucky Fried Christian, wonderful host of Down with the Browns. I am Manny Maxwell. Manny Brook Park Maxwell. I don't know why there's an S there. It's actually should be Brook Park. Yeah, we're going to have to edit that. We're going to have to edit that. Christian, how you feeling? How you feeling?
Buddy, elite.
Let's go. And obviously, as you can tell by my middle name, which I got to change that. I got to figure out a way to change that. I don't know why on earth there's an S there. But we have three important things to go through this episode, right? Number one, Browns release the stadium renderings, which is extremely important because we've been waiting. We've been waiting for what this stadium design is going to look like. There's some key information. We're going to talk about that. Brandon Ayuk, we're going to talk about that as well. And obviously, we got to talk about the elephant in the room. The Cleveland Browns play football this Saturday. The Green Bay Packers are coming to town at 4:25. But let's talk about the most important thing right now on the docket, and that is the Cleveland Browns' potential new stadium. So it is reported. Obviously, now it's probably old news for all Cleveland Browns fans everywhere because it's been everywhere. But we got to talk about it, okay? So the Haslam Sports Group has yet to choose between Cleveland or Brook Park. They're talking about a $2.4 billion project potentially. And so I think that Jimmy Haslam kind of already said it out there, and he wants at least some of the taxpayers to pay up to half. But Cleveland Mayor Justin Bibb said, no. They're going to stay in Cleveland. We want them to stay in Cleveland. But number two, our taxpayers are going to have to pay less than half. Now, what the number is or anything. So we're going to find out what that is exactly. But again, for people who don't know geographically, you're not from Ohio, but you're a Browns fan or whatever, like myself. We're talking about roughly 18 minutes. Some people say 15. Some people say 20 minutes outside Cleveland. Downtown Cleveland is Brook Park. Depending on how fast you're driving, obviously, depends on the driver. But KFC, I need to know your thoughts, right? What were the first things you thought about when you saw that tweet from the Cleveland Browns go out in that video? Like, were you hyped? Were you disappointed? Were you upset? What are some of the thoughts that you were having?
So I was lusting after it, I ain't gonna lie. I mean, I just looked at it and I was like, man, that is beautiful. That stadium, just beautiful. And, I was actually up there a few weeks ago. And I was with my cousin. I was like, hey, man, show me where this is exactly supposed to be at. And he showed us. We were like 15 minutes from downtown. I mean, still, like, people like me, I'm still going to consider that as Cleveland because it's so close. But, like, this new stadium, it'd be great for the city. I mean, you could do so much more there than just play football games and a concert here and there. Like, you saw SummerSlam was there last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever it was. They could do this more often. They could host a WrestleMania there. And they could do so many more things like Final Fours, bigger concerts, big events. Like, you could do so much more with a dome like that. And imagine, you could host more NFL drafts, possibly a Super Bowl.
Possibly a Super Bowl. Shout out to K, Dog Check. Woo. So, obviously the mayor is also talking about, Mayor Bibb kind of talked about a little bit of a potential $1 billion renovation project. He declined to kind of elaborate on what that looks like if the Browns were to stay downtown, right? He didn't really talk about what $1 billion for a renovation project looks like downtown Cleveland. Obviously, a lot of people who are around there would love the stadium to stay in that area. You got MGK's, cafe right there, to get some coffee if you want to, enjoy a hot beverage before you go to the game. And I think that there's a lot of other businesses that would kind of benefit from still having the stadium there with $1 billion in renovations. I don't know if that number was thrown out there due to how beautiful the video is. I mean, if you're listening or if you're watching, if you have not seen the video, you're probably living under a rock or whatever. But if you have not seen the video yet, please go to the Cleveland Browns Twitter page, Instagram page, and watch that 2-minute video of what this whole situation looks like. It looks like Jerry's World, right, in Dallas with the Cowboys. You have a complex, a gigantic complex where you can park your car and go to watch some amusements, and the concerts there look amazing. You got WrestleMania could potentially look amazing, like you just said, Christian. Final Four would be a money grab there, and you just have everything looking more, I don't know, futuristic and look appealing to tourists, right?
Yeah.
On the flip side, having it be in Cleveland, I feel like Cleveland, I don't know exactly what the number is for the NFL, but I feel like they're one of the few teams that have their stadium not only in their city name, but right downtown. I mean, it is right downtown. So, for those people who are upset and kind of talking about the businesses, is there anything that you kind of think about there? Because we've seen a lot of people push back on this because of the business taking out of Cleveland. But come on, this is a beautiful, beautiful venue right next to the airport. You're putting money back into Cleveland somewhat. It's still kind of Cleveland if you really think about it.
Yeah. Also, I mean, it's a suburb. It's a suburb part of Cleveland. I mean, it's really not that far, like we said, 15 minutes. And people are still going to go downtown, touristy people like me that just love going down there and just looking at the, the big skyscrapers and seeing the sights. So, I mean, people are still going to go down there.
100%. And I think that it's still going to be interesting. Question for you. Did they ever say what would happen to Cleveland Brown Stadium currently? What would it turn into if Carson, my wife, Carson asked a great question. What would that stadium be? Would that just be would they demolish it, or
I would say they'd tear it down and put something else there. I mean, they'd probably put a big not manufacturing. They might put something down there like that, or a big skyscraper for some big finance or something like that. Insurance.
I mean, it's right there on the lake. That's a very beautiful view. I mean, you can have a complex there for just I don't know what you would do if you're listening, and if your comments or whatever, you can comment it in the Twitter chat or on our YouTube page and kind of give the comments of what you think would potentially be there. But I think that it would be a great move, because look how attractive it is as a fan to go there and be immersed in Cleveland Brown culture, a little metro, a metropolitan area. It feels like so futuristic as an opportunity to be there. I don't know. I feel like as a first time fan or whatever, or a little kid, you're going there and then everything is just Cleveland Browns everywhere you look. The practice facilities there. I would imagine they would move their headquarters from Berea to Brook Park. From Berea?
It's Berea.
Berea? What did I say? Berea? It's late. I didn't even have my MGK coffee yet. But I think I still need another cup. Berea. Anyway, so yes. So they would move their headquarters there. I personally like the idea. It's beautiful. I think that it would definitely bring money into, because you could have. Sorry, little disturbance there. My dog's in here and biting my foot. But it would definitely bring money into Cleveland, and you can still funnel that money elsewhere. You can still have people there traveling for. You still have the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland. You still have the Guards there. The Cavs are still playing there. Just because you move the Browns out of the city doesn't mean you're not going to get any revenue in downtown.
Oh yeah.
You know
For
what I
sure.
mean? But when you're talking about Ohio, you're talking about the number one a sports team and sports a kind of attraction. It is the Browns. Obviously, you have the Bengals. Obviously, you have Ohio State. But this is a Brown state, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you're talking about Cleveland Browns. Everybody loves the Cleveland Browns, and you
Well,
need to give the fans something, an
the
experience that they would
only
love.
the only thing with it though, I mean, you're losing the nostalgia of the actual dog pound, which I mean, this new stadium isn't the original dog pound either. It's been there for what, 25 years now. So I mean, this dog pound isn't the same dog pound that was there back in like the 70s and 80s and 90s. Like it's not the same. Um, but like a lot of people are like, oh, it's going to hurt these downtown businesses. It's like if that business is relying on 8 Sundays a year, I mean, those are big Sundays though. I mean, they get a lot of business, but businesses
That's
close
true.
at 5.
That's true.
So if it's a
That's
Sunday
very
night
true.
game, they're not even going to be open.
That's a very good point. And you're talking about those 8 Sundays. It is a lot. It is a lot. But if you're a business and you are counting on those 8 Sundays to stay alive, it's a little bit of a problem.
Yeah, it's like it's like not drastic. I mean, because I mean they still got the Guardians and the Cavs still downtown during the fall. I mean they got the Cavs, which I mean they're starting to build up. They're selling out a lot of games, so I mean you got that there. Um, they're talking about adding. Is it a soccer team in Cleveland or is it a what type of team was women's soccer?
Yes, women's
So
soccer
I
team.
mean they could use the stadium for that. And they could
Yeah,
pack out.
for sure, for sure, for sure. They definitely can. And I think that there's options and there's there's money to be made, right? There's
Mhm.
money to be made as well if you have that gigantic attraction. And I think that if you're talking about having a stadium in Brook Park, like imagine other people going for the Final Four or going for a Super Bowl. If
Mhm.
they're going to Brook Park, why wouldn't you not go to downtown Cleveland?
Yeah.
Right? I think about, because I'm in the Philly area, I think about the Phillies complex with the Eagles and the Sixers and Wells Fargo Center. They're not in Center City, Philly. They're not. They're off to the side.
Mhm.
So once you go to those stadiums and once you go to an event, if you go to a playoff game, and if you're an away fan, you're from, I don't know, you're from Boston or you're from New York Knicks or Atlanta Hawks. I don't know how Atlanta Hawks are making it that deep into playoffs anyway in the first place. But if you're playing the Sixers in the playoffs and you've never been to Philly, you're going to go to the game. And if you're there for the weekend, you might also just drive to the city of Philadelphia, which is like a 10, 15-minute drive if you want to go see, Center City, Philly. So to have this whole mindset of, it will take away from Cleveland, I don't think that it will. And wouldn't
Yeah.
you love to host the opportunity to host a Super Bowl? These drawings are amazing.
Well, not many teams actually play in the city that they claim. Like
That's what I'm saying.
neither of the New York teams play in New York, or like neither like the New York City teams play in New York. They play in New
Dallas
Jersey.
doesn't. Yeah.
Dallas doesn't. And I mean, even the Cavs, they didn't even play in downtown Cleveland till
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
90s. Because I mean, they
These
played in the Richmond Coliseum, which is 30 minutes from downtown Cleveland.
Exactly. And so, and again, for the viewers, or if you're listening to the podcast, and you can't view the image, we do have some of these renderings a little bit flashing on the screen, and it does look like a domed. It does look like a dome stadium, so that it kind of answers the question there. I don't know if there's any.
Well,
They didn't say
It
show
looks like a retractable. It looks like a retractable though, the way that because you can see the sun through it.
It does look retractable, but I think that that's glass. In the video, it kind of looks glass.
Well, I saw like a video that like you see how they have those little lines there. There's like stuff that like comes out and it like protects.
It kind of looks like it kind of looks like a kaleidoscope of glass on the roof. If it is retractable, that would be great. Having the whole roof that kind of see-through I think that is beautiful. I think the architectural design for that is amazing, because you still get that outdoor feel for a lot of old timer Browns fans or nostalgic Browns fans. You still get that option there. But I mean, you look at that picture of the dog pound where there doesn't seem to be any upper or lower level a deck seating. It is all one straight up row. Like
It's like college.
It's like
Like a
college.
college.
It's like the bowl seating. So I don't know if you're in row. If you could, it's hard to. It goes from the lower level deck to the upper level deck, but there's no separation. I hope I'm explaining that correctly for people who can't see it. But man, oh man, sitting in row, I don't even know what that would be, 86 or something. It's a steep fall if you trip. So don't. I mean, you're going to be
Which
falling
I would
for a
say
while.
they would make it more, leveled out.
More leveled out rather than that steep is what I
Yeah.
would imagine. But playing against that end zone would be insane. Now,
That'd be scary.
it'd be super scary. And honestly, they didn't have a timeline for this, but if they're talking about potentially how long this would be, I don't think this would be done to like 2030. 20, even if they break ground like fully, because I mean, it's a complex. It's not a stadium. It's a complex, and having everything there and what you want. I don't think it'll be completely done until 2029, 2030 time range. But again, great, exciting news. It's something for the Browns fans to talk about, to get excited for, whether it's in Cleveland, whether it's in Brook Park. I think that Browns fans are going to show up. We're going to get over it eventually. I think it would be really nice to have a Cleveland version of Jerry's World, has a Haslam's World or whatever, because we deserve it. We've been through a lot as Browns fans, and to have our own kind of community, our own kind of town, I think that it would be. I think that it would be a lot.
To get a little more financial insight on this new stadium, let's bring in somebody real quick.
Bring in who? No way, Matty G, baby boy! Ladies and gentlemen, Matty G is in the building. Matty G, first and foremost, what up? I saw what you said about Jason Tatum getting a lot of bench sweat on Twitter because he didn't play for Team USA today versus Serbia. Go USA!
They didn't need him. They didn't need him. Apparently.
Didn't need him.
Apparently.
And this is between you and me. This is between you and me, and I'm just going to say a little secret. I was actually a little worried that they were going to put him in, because I was like, do not put Jason Tatum in this game.
Yeah, I'll say, some of Kerr's rotations have been questionable. Like, I hate to go after your boy Derek White. He was terrible today. He was very bad today.
Yes, he was. Unnecessary fouls and sending people to the line. On Bogdan, sending Bogdan to the line. That was going to be crucial. But Matty G, listen, big news with the stadium. Right. Tell me a little bit about what you're feeling. What are some of the thoughts that are going through your mind?
So, from my perspective, and let me just say this is everything I'm about to share is completely factual. You can look this up on the internet. This is the best move for not only the team, but the region of Northeast Ohio for several reasons. So let's move north of the lakefront. We'll start with the lakefront and then take our way to Brook Park. So I understand that this is a very emotional topic for a lot of our fan base for good reason. The team has never not played on the lakefront. Cleveland Municipal Stadium stood exactly where Cleveland Browns Stadium currently stands. Everyone in Northeast Ohio is not very happy with First Energy right now, so let's keep them out of it. But this is the right move for the team for several reasons. And with Cleveland Browns Stadium, it was outdated from the day it was opened. It was a rush job, so to kind of add a little bit of color to the situation, the NFL told the city of Cleveland in 1995 they needed to have a stadium up in 2 to 3 years. For a stadium to be planned, developed, properly financed, properly built, that's a 5-year process. And also keep in mind, this was in 1995. Think about the technological advances that we have now in present day to speed this stuff up that they did not have access to at this point in time. So, for example, I was lucky enough to be at WWE SummerSlam with my dad on Saturday, and I was talking to him about it. Him and my mom went to the first game back in 1999. When that stadium opened, it did not have escalators. It only had one elevator up to the upper deck, and it did not have running warm water to most of the stadium. That all had to be added. The video boards had to be added. The stadium is actually built on what used to be an old landfill, so it is sinking into the lake. And I talked to somebody in the mayor's office about a month ago about this, and this has been kind of reported by other outlets. Even with that $1.4 billion potential renovation that Mariboba's put on the table, we're looking at possibly 15 usable years out of that stadium at best. And not to
Wow.
mention with natural erosion and other just quite frankly logistical issues, it's very hard to get around First Energy Stadium. The concourses are too narrow, and also it's kind of a pedestrian hazard when you're exiting the stadium. Pedestrians have to leave, as Manny and Christian remember from when we went to a game a couple of years ago. You're walking over, literally walking over major highways. It's a accident waiting to happen. It's a horrible location for a stadium. So that brings us to Brook Park. Brook Park is overall an area that's kind of begging for some development. The current site used to be a major Ford plant where back in the day they used to started, I want to say it was a Model T plant like a long, long time ago, and it evolved and evolved and evolved, and it closed in the 90s, if I remember correctly. That land's been vacant for years. It's been cleared. What's beautiful about it, every major highway that runs through Northeast Ohio has an interchange in Brook Park. It is also within walking distance of Cleveland Hopkins Airport, which is huge when it comes to major events because it's less transportation costs for people. And also, it's 12 minutes from downtown. This isn't moving to Baltimore. This isn't moving to Columbus. You're literally moving to a neighboring city. We're talking about a 12-minute drive. Another thing, when you start talking about a dome compared to a regular stadium, well, then one term that I really hope people start to use is usable dates. So a usable date is not just a football game. It is any event that could be held at that stadium. So currently, First Energy Stadium has about 12 to 15 usable dates a year. And that's not great. When we're talking about, think about this. You're paying $1.2 billion for a facility that will be used 15 times a year. The math doesn't math there. And when you start talking about a $2.4 billion dome, the Haslam's have already committed they will put up $1.2 billion towards the dome, as well as additionally fund a privately funded entertainment complex that is worth up to $1.6 billion. Again, this is about generating revenue from not just the Cleveland Browns. We're talking about a city, region-wide economic development. I recommend anyone who is interested in this topic to research the economic impact of the city of Detroit, of Ford Field, the economic impact of Lucas Oil Stadium, Indianapolis. Domes in these markets do very, very well because they generate, again, those usable dates. In the Browns video, if you noticed, in the video, they showed off a Taylor Swift concert. They showed off a WrestleMania. They showed off the NCAA Final Four. They couldn't show off the Super Bowl, but there would be a Super Bowl in Cleveland, I guarantee you, within 5 years of the Dome opening.
Absolutely.
Bowl games. When you start talking about with a region like Northeast Ohio that is on the rise, you're talking about adding an additional $300 to $400 million of revenue a year with this new project. And again, I empathize with people who don't want to lose the tradition of the Dome. But if you look at this, if you're going to have to spend so the city said they were willing to put forth $600 million. Are you thinking about, when we talk about usable dates, would you rather spend $600 million on 10 to 15 dates a year, or would you rather spend $1.2 billion? And keep in mind, this wouldn't be just the city of Cleveland. This is city of Brook Park, Cuyahoga County, Lorain County, Lake County, Summit County, Mahoning County. All these other counties will be pitching in, and state money. Mike DeWine has already pledged at least $200 million of state money on a state-of-the-art complex that could have possibly 50 years of usable life and is designed to be upgraded that can be used 30 to 50 times a year. Because this is when you start talking about attracting soccer teams. Look at this beautiful facility. And also with the shopping and other aspects of the district, this could pay for itself with something called a sin tax, which is on alcohol sales. So these bars will be open year round. This is how we start talking about the stadium generating revenue for itself. So that, to wrap it up, is why, in my eyes, Brook Park is the obvious answer. And that is where I think the Browns will be headed in the coming weeks. I'm expecting, boys, that we'll have an official announcement by the beginning of the season.
I cannot agree with you more because there's also, to piggyback off what you're saying, Also, even the smallest events. You saw a little ice skating rink there during the Christmas time. You're talking
Exactly.
about all these little things, and just to have budding businesses and opportunities there right in Brook Park. And eventually, because you're talking about that 12-minute drive, there's a nice little highway there, stretch of highway, that you can also have businesses there, laser tag and roller skating and all this other stuff. You can have all of that right there as a one-stop shop when you're there. So to say that this is not going to eventually pay themselves, we're not looking at everyone's looking at right now 1 to 2, 3 years, and they're uncomfortable with it. You need to look 10, 15, 20 years, and the Browns are doing well. You got them at a beautiful time. You talked about Ford Field with the Detroit Lions. Aren't you think they're happy now? Look at the Lions, how well they're playing, and now you got a beautiful Ford Field right there. Play a couple playoff games. You're putting in and setting up the Browns to do well, to attract. You're going to have a beautiful venue, and you're going to be good. You're not going to be like the Las Vegas Raiders, who are about to be trash with this nice stadium.
And Little Birdie actually told me, and I can't reveal who told me this, but they would know that there is serious momentum to the Ohio State Buckeyes playing a game there annually against an Ohio State school. That is part of the reason why state money is involved. I can't reveal any more than that, but I have that pretty well sourced. So that's, again, another date that you're adding. And this stadium is going to sit between 85 to 90,000. So that's 20,000 more fans a game that you're getting on admissions taxes. And if we pivot back to the lakefront, if we're talking from an economic standpoint from Cleveland, that is one of the most valuable pieces of real estate from here to New York, from Chicago to New York.
Oh, yeah.
It's lakefront property. And what the idea is that finally, for the first time in the city's history, we have a plan to develop it. And what's even better, it can be used year round. Sure, First Energy looks cool. For Cleveland Browns Stadium, I keep screwing this up. Cleveland Browns Stadium sure looks cool to look at. But every time I look at it now, I just see unused potential. And when you start looking at some of the mayor's mock-ups of a concert amphitheater, a park, a shopping district, a food hall, apartments, condos, hotels, that's consistent revenue that's going to be going into the city of Cleveland with or without football season. And that is something that the area absolutely needs. And with this dome, you're developing a second entertainment district in Brook Park and allowing that area to grow. And when people start talking about wanting to get, in terms of the airport, wanting to get flights to places like London, Paris, all their more direct flights to the West Coast, you need to build up that area around the airport for airlines to want to fly to you. We universally have, Cleveland University is considered one of the worst airports in the country.
Yes.
That's why it's getting a significant upgrade.
Yes.
This just helps that. It's one of those things where I get frustrated, and to kind of, I'll get off my soapbox here after this, is when you read on social media and talk to people throughout the Cleveland area, everyone wants the city to get better. Everybody sees this city as a ball of potential, and I couldn't agree more. However, when you propose something like this Brook Park Stadium, all you hear is how it's not good enough and it's not going to work for X, Y, and Z. At some point as a community, we have to take that chance to take that next step into being the city that we all know we can be. So
100%. I can't agree more. And truthfully, for the people who who love the Muni lot, can you imagine if you give the Cleveland Browns and the Haslam Sports Group the opportunity to make you a beautiful Muni lot? I'm talking with bathroom, with actual bathroom, like built-in bathrooms. You don't have to drive that far. More room for people to throw a football around. Have it kind of like I forget what stadium has this, but they have like a little mini football field off to the side.
New England does.
I think it's new. I'm pretty sure it's New England. Yep. And so you kind of see the people on Fox Sports when they're for game day, they're kind of like on a mini football field as well. That'd be nice to have that there in the Muni lot. And honestly, if your biggest two things are about nostalgia, like let's get rid of the old Cleveland Browns. I mean, like we already did that with Municipal Stadium. I'm wearing the shirt. Like those are the good Browns that we remember. Unfortunately, that stadium's not there anymore. And let's just move on from First Energy Stadium / the Cleveland Browns Stadium, and let's move into this new era, this new new mindset. Beautiful, beautiful area, and we're gonna have a good football team. And when it's all about said and done about money, you won't be thinking about your taxes when you're at a beautiful venue year round for plenty of things, not only the Browns.
And another thing is like these hotels, like for people like me and Maddie, driving into the city, I would say these hotels would probably be more affordable to stay at and easier to park
Absolutely.
at. Because
I
that's
don't.
like
I don't know
one
if I go
thing.
that. I don't know if I go that far. This is capitalism. They're probably going to be
No,
marked up on
I know they'll be
gate fees,
higher,
but at the
but
same
like,
time, it's more convenient. And the thing is, for you and Manny, it makes it so much easier to come to the game because you're like, okay, I can walk 5 minutes to the stadium. It's another cost save.
Yeah.
yeah, like and like when I usually stay in a hotel, like if I go to a game there, I'm trying to find one that I can park at instead of having to pay the like
Exactly.
$60-$70 for the
True.
game day parking at these
True.
parking garages and stuff.
True.
So,
Exactly.
and that's
True. That would be the only downside I can think, because when we did go to that game, we stayed at an Airbnb and we were able to walk to the stadium. Like, I mean, if it is in Brook Park, there would have to be hotels that were built near there, which I think there would be.
That's part of the plan, and that is the one thing as a downside is that when all three of us went to that game with Mac, our the other former member, we were able to walk. That's the one thing where I can hear that argument for sure, but we have to trust Dee Haslam is a very accomplished urban planner. This is her background. She
Yeah.
knows what she's doing. We
Yes.
have to trust Dee Haslam. Like
Absolutely.
they've been working on this since 2017. And I am sure there's more to come. This is a negotiating tactic. They're clearly trying to get more money out of the state. They're not going to show their full deck of cards. If we're
Right.
at a casino, you're not showing your deck of cards. There's parts of those renderings we haven't seen yet. And when we talk about servicing the fans, Christian Manny, did you guys see the dog pound design?
Oh my!
insane.
What a cool idea.
Oh my goodness! I mean, this is a really grainy image again, but I just have to pull it up. That is a very intimidating. That might be the most intimidating fan section in all of the NFL if this were to be pulled off just like it is. I mean, man, playing into that end zone is going to be the worst for opposing teams.
Absolutely.
So it is definitely going to be. Listen, I like this idea. There's a lot of people who there's a small sect of people who are against it for nostalgic and money reasons. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that. Personally, I'm sorry. I don't want to hear nostalgia, and I don't want to hear about the financial part of it, because, again, 10 years down the line, 15 years down the line, you're going to be very, very, very excited that is in Brook Park, and that's what's in your area, in your hometown, in your section of Northeast Ohio.
It's like one of them things you just have to see it.
You have to see it. Once you see it, exactly. Once
And
you
it's one
see
of
it.
those things also, what's beautiful about the tax structure, I forgot to get in this. The people complain about having to pay taxes on this. I got great news for you. If you don't like football, you're not going to pay taxes on it because most of this is funded on an admissions tax. And it's going to be funded on tax based on the food. If you're like, oh, I'll never use this facility. Well, great news. You're not going to be paying taxes on it. This is specifically designed to tax people at using the businesses in the stadium complex and in the stadium itself, that with that idea that it will pay for itself. And that's why also another thing that this person from the mayor's office told me, there's been at least 2 major country artists, which I can let you figure out who it is, have said they will bypass Cincinnati and Columbus and come to Cleveland for shows if we have a dome. Because think about it, if you're an artist, you have that stadium show, but you also have insurance in case it rains. It just makes a lot more sense.
Absolutely. And I think that being able to have a venue such as that, there's just so much that, Christmas Day football games. I mean, like it would do a lot. It would do a lot. I think people got to get on board with it. I love the complex. I love Brook Park. I would not want to keep it in downtown Cleveland. And we can definitely talk about that more moving forward. Matty G, thank you so much. That was huge insight. KFC, we are. I think, Matty G, if you want to stay and talk about this too, that'd be great. Like,
sure, I got time.
Listen, now there's some other big news. There's a potential star player that may come to Cleveland. Obviously, the reports, the latest is 6 hours ago, they're kind of leaking, saying that he doesn't want to come to Cleveland. But Brandon Ayuk, wide receiver of the San Francisco 49ers, a very strong cornerstone piece to that offense over there in San Francisco, a weapon for Brock Purdy. Obviously has requested a trade from the San Francisco 49ers. And he kind of is in a unique situation as a player because, he does need to be traded, but he also can sign a contract. So he kind of has a tiny little bit of of a non-player option, player option, if that makes sense. So he can decide where he wants to go. The Patriots are officially kind of out, right? Of that. I mean, I saw reports saying that they were going to offer him as high as 4 years, 120 plus million, which is a large sum of money.
That's a lot. That's a big contract. It's a big contract,
gigantic contract. But again, you have this three-headed monster here. Some people are saying the Browns are used as a pawn right now. You look at the Steelers. The Steelers aren't offering the 49ers enough. The 49ers might say they want a wide receiver in return. They might be asking for George Pickens, maybe a Calvin Austin III. I don't know if the Steelers want to give that up. So, Matty G, I want to hear you first. Obviously, Brandon Aiyuk is by the way, breaking news. He's not the 9th highest rated wide receiver on Madden for all you video games junkies out there. He's at a 91.
I heard stat, and it was like I think 75% of his catches were either first downs or touchdowns.
He's a playmaker. He's a playmaker for real. And we can use that, but we have to potentially give up something as well. In the form of Amari Cooper, and a lot of people are worried about that. Matty G, what are your thoughts on Brandon Aiyuk being in a Cleveland Browns jersey?
I'll be completely honest with you. I'm not super interested in Aiyuk. When I saw the 49ers play last year, I just thought he was okay. I mean, I'll be honest. I don't really think he's much of a difference maker. I think Shanahan schemed him open a lot. I mean, I think he's a solid receiver. There's other guys that I think I'd be more interested in. Personally, I'd rather give that kind of money to T. Higgins. I think he's a better player outright. I think he fits what the Browns want to do a little bit better with Aiyuk. And my other issue with Aiyuk is when you're running into a situation where, I'll be honest, my gut feeling is I do think he could be a Brown, and I think he'll be a Brown tomorrow, just because this is starting to remind me a lot of the Watson situation where it looked like Watson was going to be a Falcon. We kept hearing he's be a Falcon, he's be a Falcon, he's be a Falcon. And like 3:18 on that Friday, the Schefter tweet drops and our entire world implodes. Nobody saw that coming because of that guaranteed Jimmy deal. I think Jimmy's going to pull the plug and offer something like that. I just think this is where that's headed. The Steelers can't agree to a deal. I don't think Amari Cooper is going to get moved. I actually think it'll be Wyatt Teller. But I just don't feel comfortable giving this guy who has struggled against good secondaries. He only had 4 catches for 74 yards against the Browns, and that last catch, which actually would have set up a potential Jake Moody game-winning field goal, which we obviously know, thankfully, he missed.
Yeah,
it was on blown coverage. And I just don't feel comfortable giving that kind of guy giving a guy who is questionable. I just don't think he's a superstar. I just don't.
So
I really
just
think
pairing him with a guy like Amari Cooper and Jerry Jeudy, do you think he would still put up 1,000 yards?
No. The reason being, they're basically 3 types of the same wide receiver. They're all route runner guys. They're not burners. The reason why I like T. Higgins so much is that he's that big body wide receiver. He will go up and get that ball. He will go up and get you a catch. He would compete. If you're looking at the future of the wide receiver room, he fits much better with Tillman and Jeudy than Aiyuk would, because Aiyuk is just another version of Jeudy. And how I look at it as, you just paid Jerry Jeudy. If you think Jerry Jeudy is going to have a great year, which I'll be honest, I was not a huge fan of that trade. I want to hope that the guy that we thought at Alabama, remember his senior year at Alabama, there was legitimate talk of him going 1. I mean, the first receiver to go 1. Like, there was legitimate talk of that. That was how good this guy was. Mm-hmm. I hope that receiver's still in there, but he's entering year 5. At some point, you got to start asking yourself, maybe this is just who he is, but we'll see. I mean, he's looked pretty good in practice. So, yeah, I understand if they make the trade for Aiyuk. I wouldn't, but also I understand it.
And so there were some reports from one Kimberly Martin from ESPN. She said she did hear some interesting news out of the Brandon Aiyuk camp, saying he certainly does not want to play for the New England Patriots, and she's also hearing some reports that he does not want to play for the Browns. Now, we don't know how true that is, or if that's coming from his camp or not. Sometimes things like this do leak. You've seen it in the past in multiple sports where the athlete might let a little bit of info, leak saying, hey, you better not draft me, or you better not trade for me, or I'm not going to play if you trade for me. Like all these little other things. It's hard because as a fan of your team, do you ever want a player to be there who doesn't want to be there? No.
Exactly.
We've been through this once already. I love Odell. Odell's one of my favorite players in NFL history. But when he was here and says he didn't want to be here, it's rough. It is hard. It's gun-stretching, especially because it's your team that you love, and there's a player that you want to be on your team that's not on your team. MC, what's up, man? We're live. I'm so sorry. We should have put out another tweet or two. But honestly, it's hurt. It hurts. But if you do take that with a grain of salt, and he does end up on the Cleveland Browns, I think that says something. Now, I have no idea why on earth he would want to go to Pittsburgh, because, and I mean this in the most non-trolling way. MC made a good point. We don't even need him. The Browns are just jacking up the price up on the Steelers. That could be the case. Andrew Berry could be playing 4D chess right now and just saying, "Hey, we're going to give Brandon Ayuk the bag." So now Pittsburgh may. I would be surprised if San Francisco asked Pittsburgh for George Pickens. They probably did. Omar Khan. They probably did. And Omar Khan is like, never in a million years will we do that. But they're trying to see what they can get. They want a wide receiver, so it might be a Calvin Austin. We might see. We don't know. But I think that if he wants to go to the Steelers, it's confusing because, again, you have Russell Wilson on a 1-year deal. You don't know what you have in Russell Wilson. You got Justin Fields because the Bears wanted another rookie and Caleb Williams, and it's like, where is Justin Fields going to play and all this other stuff? It's like, it's hard. It's very hard to kind of put it's kind of hard to put all of that in perspective. But looking at it, I don't know why. I mean, he did send a tweet out earlier and say, to Mike Tomlin, say, "Hey, man, people are saying that we look alike," or whatever the case may be. I don't know what that's about.
They do a little bit.
They do look alike. But it's like, is that a little bit of some collusion going on? Is that a little bit of like, why are you talking to other head coaches? And at the time, he said that back in March, I believe. So I don't know. It's hard to see. KFC, what are you thinking?
I mean, I wouldn't be mad at the trade. I mean, I wouldn't be mad if we don't do the trade, because I think there's a higher possibility we keep Cooper around a little bit longer if we don't make the move. But I think if we make the move, this is Coop's last year.
Absolutely. 100%. And I agree.
And if you notice with that dead cap hit, actually, KFC, to kind of add to that dead cap hit comes after the franchise tag deadline. I think that they'd be setting up for a tag and trade with Amari, where you could get Amari his money, save yourself on the cap, and then pick up an asset in return.
Yeah. I could see that. I mean, I'd love to keep Cooper around. I mean, he's been the best receiver we've had in probably 30 years, honestly. I mean, outside of that one season with Josh Gordon, he's been the most consistent. But I mean, Brandon Ayuk, you're pretty much getting a younger version of Cooper, which I don't think he's as good as Coop. I'll say that. Even Coop being 4 years older than Ayuk, I think Coop's still the better receiver. I'd love to see them both play on the same field, because I think that just kind of pushes the issue, them saying, okay, it's Super Bowl or bust now.
100%. Mm-hmm. And so we have about 10 more minutes here on our show. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you so much for tuning in. Officially, I think this should now be the biggest news that we have, but the Cleveland Browns play football on Saturday this week. They play football. So the Green Bay Packers will be coming to Cleveland.
My boy. Good to see my boy on Saturday. Let's go.
It's going to be very, very exciting to watch the Browns back in uniform playing. They're playing at 4:25 p.m. I got to change that title. We potentially have we might see some Lucas Van Ness action from Green Bay out of Iowa. Very good defensive player. We'll maybe see if he can play for the Packers. I'd love to see him play. But again, more importantly, I know a lot of Ohio State fans, want to see Michael Hall Jr. Obviously, they want to see Michael Hall Jr. out there. I mean, there's some videos that are out there already of him in practice. He looks fast, boys. He looks fast. If we can get about three minutes each, can we get what are you looking to see? Obviously, I'll say my point of who I'm looking to see. Is there any players you're looking to see? Is there anything you're watching for? There's going to be a lot of no names, but Matty G, who are you thinking?
All right, so 3 quick points. Number 1, DTR versus Huntley. I think that is the biggest battle in camp we're not talking about. We got to see what those two guys can do, because remember, it was not too long ago when Tyler Huntley was indeed a Pro Bowler, whether that was with that being a joke election or not, there were teams that thought he could be a franchise quarterback. So he could be a great insurance option in case Watson's not healthy. However, DTR has been lighting it up in camp, so that'll be good to see. Also, looking to see Tillman. Tillman's been supposedly having a great camp. We'll see how well he's running his routes. Last year, he got confused. However, he did show some promise towards the end of the season. I think it was the Broncos game. He had 5 catches for 72 yards. He played pretty well. So then the third guy I'm looking out for, I really want to see if somebody in the secondary can step up and be this year's Ronnie Hickman Jr. Because remember, Ronnie Hickman last year was just a no-name undrafted free agent, and he ended up coming up big later in the season when injuries stacked up. It's always guys like that, your undrafted free agents, who are going to be your fifth defensive back, your 6th receiver, your 7th linebacker, 6th defensive lineman. I'm looking out for who is going to be that dog, and we'll see that on Saturday night.
Solid.
Very solid, very solid. KFC, who do you got? What are some storylines, players you're looking at?
I'm ready to see Jameis lead the boys out there. I want to see Jameis Winston eating that W with the crab legs. I'm ready to see crab leg Winston out there playing. I'm ready to see Michael Hall. I agree with you there, Manny. I think that'd be a solid. Just see what he has, because it seems like he's having a pretty good camp as well. Hopefully he becomes that guy that everybody says he's going to be. I wasn't ecstatic about the pick when they made it, I'll be honest. But hopefully he shows us something, get us hopped. And then also, I want to see Zach Zenner. I want to see how he's pulling. Is he going to be out there probably?
I thought he was hurt.
Is he hurt?
He's still coming back from that. I thought he shattered his fibula in the Ohio State Michigan game in November. I thought he wouldn't be back. Is he back by now?
I think he is. I
saw him out there pumping up the crowd.
Yeah, I don't think that he's practicing.
I didn't think he was game ready. I thought he was workout ready, but not game ready.
Gotcha. Well, I'll think of somebody else. Yeah, I'll agree with the Cedric Tillman. Yeah, I think I think he's going to be solid. But not because of the Tennessee stuff.
Yeah, because it's not because of the Tennessee stuff.
Yeah, it's not because of
that. So obviously, I had that fake jersey and everything for him. DTR. I want to see DTR. I don't know exactly why I want to see DTR, because I know who our quarterback is going to be. I want to just see exciting preseason football plays. We have a very unique quarterback room for the preseason with Jameis Winston, with a lot of electricity from Tyler Huntley, and then you're getting in obviously DTR, who's going to be potentially a fan favorite. I think that his hype has went down because of some of the plays, but he's still an electric player. I definitely want to see Michael Hall. Who I really want to see is Jamari Thrash.
That's a good one.
6 foot and 190. I if we don't get Brandon Ayuk, I'm not saying Jamari Thrash needs to be Brandon Ayuk, but I want to see how well are we at drafting wide receivers?
He can fly, man. He can fly.
He can move. I want to see Cedric Tillman. I want to see Jamari Thrash. I want to see Jalen Darden. I want to see these wide receivers that we're putting investments in, and kind of look at our wide receiver scouting room. That's more of a game for the wide receiver scoutings, and see, hey, are we okay? Are you guys good at drafting wide receivers and bringing them into and developing them? Especially when you have a quarterback under center who's supposed to carry the mantle for the next few years. Can you develop some of the weapons for him rather than bringing in, guy after guy every 2 seasons. All of the star wide receivers we have right now have not been homegrown. You think of your Elijah Moore, you think of your Jerry Jeudy, and you think of your Amari Cooper. We've got them from other teams, so we got to be able to have some homegrown talent. We have a weapon in David Njoku that we did that with, but at the same time, I mean, we got to really bring in. Some talent in the wide receiver room. MC says, I agree with Maddie. Huntley could be interesting. Huntley could definitely be interesting. I think that he could be a weapon in this offense, depending on when we need him. Mixing it up a little bit. He was dynamic on the Ravens. At some points, I was more scared of him than Lamar because he could still win a game versus us. But
he can hurt you, unlike Lamar. He can hurt you with his arm downfield. Lamar struggles to stretch the field. Huntley can do that. He's got.
We've seen Huntley throw a bomb or two on us, and it be caught. He's not some scrub. That is for sure. All right, boys. Great show. Fantastic show, Matty G. Thank you so much for stopping by.
It was good to be back. It was good to be back in the chair with you too. It was great.
It is awesome. 100%. We had some great talking points. The Browns do play on Saturday once again. I don't even want to do predictions because literally I just hope they win. I would like to see a win. 95-3. I'll take a 95-3 win. I'd love to see Tyler Huntley go all over the place, throw for 5 TDs or something crazy.
I'll say 20. I'll say 27-24 Browns, and I'm also going to pat myself on the back here. They said Jordan Love's going to play a full drive. I think we'll go 6 of 6 for 78 and a TD.
He's going to carve us up something nasty. I hate these young quarterbacks. Last time I saw a young quarterback versus our defense, he shredded us in the playoffs in Houston. So I'm done watching young quarterbacks. I don't want to see Jordan Love. I might turn it on after. I mean, that's true. That's true because I forgot Green Bay holds their quarterbacks on retainer for about 3 or 4 seasons before they roll them out there. They have a good little system.
Are you two ever going to give me credit for calling Jordan Love? You ever going to give me credit for calling that?
You said he was going to be like a top. You said he's going to be better than Burrow.
You said he's going to be something.
And he is.
Not on one season. And guess what? You think I'm pumped of what you did versus Dallas? Versus the Cowboys. Cowboys in the playoffs are basically the best college football team in the nation.
They took the Niners the distance. Don't forget about that.
They did, but I think the Niners kind of overlooked them. They were worried about the Super Bowl. I think the Niners were worried about the Super Bowl. That's what they were doing. And truthfully, I forget who said this on ESPN, but if they do trade Ayuk, that's going to be the end of their Super Bowl window. I totally agree about that. They're not going to re-up from that.
Jennings is a good. Jawan Jennings, man.
Yeah. If Huntley outplays DTR, they better keep him. MC, that's a very good point. That's a very good point. But then, what are you going to do with DTR? And that's a draft pick right there. You're going to have a 4 quarterback room on this roster.
You could trade DTR. You could trade DTR for
somebody will trade you for DTR.
You could trade DTR in a 7th. You could trade DTR in a 7th for a 5th.
Absolutely,
that's not an issue.
100%. All right, boys. Fantastic show. And as always,
go Browns.
Go Browns, baby. Go Browns.
Bird,